Good afternoon, Mountaineer Nation, and welcome into the Mountaineer Effect. I'm your host, Marcus Dean, here on Geek Gorilla TV, GGTV, right here on YouTube. Thanks for having us along here on the broadcast. We got one of the GGTV founders here, Mr. Sam, here with us today. He's going to be chatting some Mountaineer football here with us here on the show. Thank you guys so much for having us. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, Geek Gorilla TV right here on YouTube. Sam, I tell you what, man. It was a good win for the Mountaineers on this past Saturday. Well, a couple Saturdays ago against Baylor. It was an overtime win. So how you feeling after the game?
It was a good win. I personally felt like West Virginia was probably 30 points better than the team they played. I think they shot themselves in the foot a lot. The play calling, in my opinion, was a lot better than it had been in the past couple of weeks. They were a little more aggressive, and I like that. I think Daggy had a really good game. All in all, other than playing down to their competition, I think it was a really good win.
Yeah, I think so too. It was a lot closer than I wanted it to be. I mean, it seemed like, and a lot of times and a lot of key third downs, they couldn't get to the next step. And I don't know if it necessarily it's a learning curve. We're only in year 2 of Neil Brown. I mean, I think some of the fan base is expecting a little bit more, but I'm thinking we're right on the level where we need to be.
For me, one of the biggest takeaways really is, West Virginia is back to form. And what I mean by that is they're a team on the hunt. They can lose to anybody. They can beat anybody. And that's a good point to be at for a young team is where you can beat anybody, you can lose to anybody. That means that you're always going to be in the games you're playing.
Right. And I look at the Big 12 right now. I mean, you don't know who's the king of the crop of the Big 12 right now. I mean, Oklahoma's lost 2. Texas has looked good at times.
They've lost 2.
Exactly, and Iowa State. I mean, it's just not only is this 2020 COVID stuff, but it's 2020 COVID football, if you want to call it something. But it's interesting. It really is. I mean, at any time. I mean, Iowa State looked good yesterday against Texas Tech. I don't remember who won the game, but I think Iowa State ended up winning by two scores. But I think Iowa State is still a good team, and I don't know what they're going to look like when we get to them. Kansas State had a good game yesterday and beat TCU, another team I thought was on the rise. But like I said, I mean, on any given Saturday, you can either win or lose.
Yeah, I'm looking at, I'm really looking at Iowa State. I know I said at the beginning of the year I thought they played a Big 12 championship.
Right.
And I still think they're in the hunt. I think against Louisiana, they just got punched in the mouth right off the bat. And, Louisiana threw their best punch, and it connected. And, they took them down. But, you look at the last 3 wins, TCU, Oklahoma, Texas Tech.
Yeah.
I mean, the real test for them is going to be this coming week. They play Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
I think Oklahoma State's pretty formidable. I think whoever wins that game will probably win the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too, because I think the Big 12 is really a good conference. I mean, Oklahoma State, I mean, we had our chances against Oklahoma State. We really did. We should have. Well, I hate to use this word. We should have won that game, but I mean, 11 penalties really killed us.
Well, that's something about West Virginia. They've always been up and down on their discipline when it comes to penalties, and that's one thing I'd like to see Neil Brown get cleaned up a little bit. Some of these silly penalties and the turnovers. You're going to turn the ball over. It's just football, but. Let's clean the penalties up.
Exactly. Against top-tier competition, Oklahoma State every year is going to bring it. I mean, they're always going to have a quarterback. They just plug-and-play quarterbacks. It doesn't matter who it is. And it seems like year after year they always have a pretty good, solid running back. I think this is going to be a fun year. I think it's going to be a fun year. It's going to be an exciting year. And, when the Big Ten start to play – I think they come along the first week in November, I think.
The last week of October.
Last week of October, okay. I knew it was soon. I couldn't remember if it was them. And then we'll see how good Ohio State is. We'll see how good Michigan is, see how good Penn State is. I mean, then we'll see where we're at overall and in terms of the landscape. But moving along to next week's game, it's going to be at noon, a noon kickoff. And good news, the Mountaineers fan base, if everything keeps going as normal, can attend the game. They're expecting 25% capacity. So, you have 60,000 fans, and you put 25% of them in there. That's what?
So roughly 15,000 fans.
Yeah, so roughly 15,000 fans spread out, which it'll look really good on TV. I mean, it'll look like a MAC game on TV, but that's okay. At least fans will be there, and they can fill the, feed off the crowd. But Kansas is Kansas. I mean, I'm not dismissing them. I'm not looking over them by no means. And we could go out next week and get the crap kicked out of us, but I don't think that's going to happen. But it could. But I'm thinking, we should coast pretty good in this game. We should see a lot of how our offense is really going to click in this game. I mean, you have, I think Letty Brown and Alex Sinkfield next week will have good games, and I really think that Daigie's going to have another good solid game throwing the ball too.
West Virginia as a whole needs to come into this Kansas game and play their best game to date. I mean, because, you're getting ready to get into the meat of your schedule, Texas Tech, Kansas State, and then, your final 4 games, they could easily drop 3 of those.
Yeah, and that's that's death row right there on the last 4 games.
I mean, they really need to come in, play well, win.
Yep. I would classify this Kansas game, I hate to say it this way, but I would classify this Kansas game as a must-win in order for us to get to any type of a bowl game this year. I think this is a must-win. And also I think I wouldn't say just yet the Texas Tech game's a must-win too, but I think they both will determine on how well the Mountaineers fare going forward.
Yeah, I mean, they're what, 2-1 now.
Yeah, and you have to win at least 5 to get to a bowl game because it's
Kansas, Texas Tech, Kansas State, and then like you said, Texas, TCU, Oklahoma, and Iowa State. I mean, you could lose 3 of the last 4, and you hope I'll be thrilled if they can split them.
Yeah, I would be too. Say, probably devil's advocate. Say we win. Say we do. We get the split. So that's going to give us 2 more wins. So that would give us 4. And say we win our other 2 we're supposed to win. That would give us 6. So I'd put us at 6 wins on the season, and somehow find a way to, before we get to Murderers Row, find another way to get another one. That would get us to 7-3. To me, if we could somehow end up 7-3, that would be absolutely almost. I wouldn't necessarily call it.
That's the moon. That's the moon.
Yeah,
I mean that's what I would call the moon. If we can get to 7-3 for this season with COVID and the players we've got,
right,
and 7-3 is the moon, and I don't think there's a Mountaineer fan in the country that wouldn't be tickled with a 7-3 season.
Yeah, I mean, if like I was saying, I was talking to a lot of different Mountaineers that I know. Hell, if we can even get to 5 or 6 wins with that type of a schedule, if we can get 5 or 6 and get us to a bowl game in year 2, I mean, we may not win pretty, but right now, not necessarily not winning pretty is not a good thing for us right now because we're only in year 2 of the Brown era. But that's the way I look at it. If we can somehow win and keep winning, but it don't matter if we win by 1 or 50, as long as we get that W. I'm to the point with this season alone. If we can just get a W, I'm good.
Well, me too. I mean, I agonized over the Baylor game just because West Virginia really was that much better than Baylor.
Yeah,
they really were.
Yeah, they played like we was talking earlier. They played down to that competition against Baylor. I really believe that. I mean, it looked to me like they played down. I mean, they was playing. They wasn't necessarily attacking and going the way they should, but I think they played down to Baylor.
Yeah, absolutely. And 4 of the next 6 games are at home. So it's always hard to play at Mountaineer Field. That's something that we have learned. Fans, no fans, that's a hard place to play. And
Right.
You got Oklahoma coming in. They're I don't want to call them fragile, but they are a little fragile right now.
I mean, so we know what Texas has. We know what Sam Ellinger has. I mean, that's a game right now. If I had to pick one that I'd say West Virginia will absolutely lose, would be Texas. I don't see how we can keep up with their speed and keep up with their athletes, especially if Sam Ellinger is on his game. That's the one. That's the ones that I don't see us. I don't know how we could do that. I don't get it.
I agree with you totally, because
Yeah.
going into Texas, Ellinger's what, a 5-year senior, 6-year senior,
a fifth year player.
And he's going to be an NFL quarterback. Somebody will take him. He may not, hit the ground running, but somebody will take him. And I think going in, he'll probably pick them apart. And do what he does. So I'm kind of on that. If they could even make that a close game, I'd be real happy. Something else we need to talk about too is the importance that beating Oklahoma would actually mean for West Virginia as a whole in the recruiting.
Yeah,
that's something that Dana never could get over that hump. Oklahoma's kind of in a down year. They're kind of you don't know what they're going to do.
Exactly.
What do you think beating Oklahoma, even in a COVID year, would do for the program?
I think what that was, as Neil Brown says, always trust the climb. I think that would help us take the next step in that climb and get back to a national stage in terms where there's, folks talking about West Virginia on a national stage instead of just, the regional and local and everything like that. If they can somehow beat Oklahoma and show how much far they've came as a program, that's the next step to me.
Yeah, I agree totally. I like Neil Brown. I've criticized him as that's his job, is to be criticized by the fans and everybody. As being a little conservative in his play calling. I felt like this week he surprised me a few times and got a little more aggressive. And if he could beat Oklahoma, go ahead and give the man a monster extension. Let's get him locked in. Let's keep him around for a while, and that would give.
Let's build his program.
Yeah, because Oklahoma. It's so funny to think about how important it is to beat Oklahoma, but for where we are right now and where I think we can go with Neil Brown, I really hope this is the year.
Yeah.
It'd be very nice for this to be the year.
Yep, I agree. In terms of, next week, it's a noon kickoff, which, will be great. I mean, for the folks wanting to go to Morgantown, I think it'll be a good noon kickoff, and I think the weather is supposed to be pretty decent. So I'm really thinking, I'm never big on predicting an actual score of the game because to me, if I say something like they're going to win like 20-14, then I want it to be 20-14, and I'll beat myself up. I was like, man, what'd you do? Where'd you screw up at? But I think that the Mountaineers will take care of Kansas handily. I'm thinking anywhere between 10 to 17 points better. I think that would be a good show. But me personally, I would want something if we could 21 to 24 points better than them. I think I'd like that a lot better.
And I agree with you. I think and it's hard to go out on a limb for your teams, but I'm going to go out on one here. I think it's going to be a blowout. I think Letty Brown's going to have over 200 yards rushing. I think he's going to have a field day with Kansas. I think it's going to be his biggest game of the year. I think this is for Letty Brown. I think this is going to be his bust out week.
His coming out party.
Yeah, his coming out party. 21 points, 24 points plus. At least that's what I expect.
Okay.
I expect Letty to go 200 yards, 3 touchdowns at the least.
Okay, I like that. I could definitely see that too, especially for our offensive line. The way our offensive line has been playing and coming together, I really think that could be definitely a good, thing to look at too. I think that would be great. And let's just pray that everybody keeps, on the Mountaineer team. Matter of fact, for the entire college football and everybody to stay as COVID-free as much as possible because, I don't know about you, but I'm definitely enjoying these games every Saturday. I mean, I would hate to see anybody have to pause for any particular reason because of COVID and things like that. But I don't know about you, but I'm tickled pink that football's back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a sense of normalcy that we're lacking. For a lot of guys, and sports is that sense of normalcy. There's something about having fans and butts in the seats and the cheering of the fans and home court advantage and all of that really makes sports come alive at home.
Right, feel normal again.
I'm glad that we're starting to get back to a little bit of normalcy. I just hope that I'm with you. I hope that we can keep the COVID down, keep going on, and I'm happy that essentially happy that the Big Ten is going to go ahead and get some games in their belt.
And I think, like we said before, I think they may have jumped the gun, and I think they finally realized, oh shit. I mean, maybe we kind of screwed up on this one.
Well, that's what you get for trying to be the trendsetter, and that's what they were trying to do. And, completely backfired in the face.
Yep, exactly.
But, I think West Virginia is on a good track.
Yeah,
Neil
they're
Brown,
on a good trend.
Like I said, Neil Brown this week, I was impressed with the play call, and I like the aggressiveness.
Right.
And Neil Brown knows what he's doing. I have nothing like I said, I always criticize coaches when I feel like they're being a little too conservative or a little too aggressive. And I think, I think he's finding the right balance.
Finding the right balance between let's not go too far, but just push the envelope just enough to get something accomplished.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for watching the Mountaineer Effect. This is Marcus Dean alongside Sammy, the founder of Geek Gorilla TV. Now, like I said, if you like what you see, make sure you click and like this subscription below in the page. And like I said, this has been the Mountaineer Effect. Let's go, Mountaineers.